Welcome to the Off 199 podcast. We are your co-hosts, Jay,
Music Nerd,
and Dap.
We're just a few Miami boys who love talking about South Florida sports and want to bring it to you. So, without further ado,
Off 199 starts now.
I get to we're getting into that conversation here. All right, what's up, everybody? What's up? Welcome back. We have a very special episode today. But first thing we want to say, we want to congratulate the Florida Panthers for bringing a championship back to South Florida for the first time. So they're not like us. That makes us a four-time major championship city. South Florida has a championship in all four major sports. I think there's only 7 cities that can say that. So congratulations to the Panthers. They did it, brought it home. They made us sweat. They did it in literally the hardest way possible, but they did it. So I'll let Julian talk about that for a little bit before we get started what we're doing.
So we're hockey fans now.
Oh, we're not.
Hey, this is South Florida. This is South Florida
hockey fans now.
This is South Florida.
South Florida Sports Podcast.
Our South Florida teams. I say that
All
right now.
Hey, man, hey, I'm not even gonna pretend, bro. Hey, that's me. I ain't even gonna pretend.
We're hockey fans now.
Look, we have been keeping up with the Panthers all year. We have given y'all updates. This is just what it is, but this is the culmination. They're able to do something that Miami is the Heat have not been able to do. So we have to give them their props. Congratulations.
Yes, because I'll just talk right now. Like, well, I watched the past 2 series, and I watched the whole playoffs. And I would just like to say, like, it was a roller coaster. There was times where I felt like we were going to win the Stanley Cup Finals, and there was times where I wasn't sure, and especially when we went up 3-0, and then we came back, and they came back to tie 3-3. I was like, damn, are we really gonna be one of them teams? Like, this has happened before in hockey history where a team has come back from 3-0, but to do it during the Stanley Cup Finals is like is damning, and it wasn't looking good. But I watched Game 7 in its entirety right after work on Monday. It was Monday, right? Yes,
it was Monday.
And man, it was an intense game. We got the first goal, but I think a minute later they came back with another goal, and I'm just like, you kind of felt the tension in the arena, stuff like that. You kind of felt like the nervousness in the arena. They were loud, they were rowdy, but there's a lot of Edmonton fans in there. You could tell a lot of Oiler fans in there, and it just kept on creeping. There's a lot of pressure building up. Then we got that second goal, and it was just more pressure. Even though we were up, there was more pressure building up because they were constantly on the attack, constantly in our zone. And I think I also watched the last minute or so, but the last 10 minutes, the last 10 minutes were just like that. It was just continuous shots on goal, continuous shots on shots in our area. And it was just very nerve-wracking because every shot looked like it had enough power to go in. And there was a couple times where it almost did went in. People were putting bodies in front of the goal, and they were really laying their bodies out to accomplish the mission. So although we're not big hockey fans, we didn't grow up watching hockey. To be from South Florida, think about that. The Stanley Cup Finals came back to Miami. Think about that. It's hockey in Miami. This is probably one time where I skated. That arena is the same arena where I ice skated for the first time. It used to be a little skating ring. But you gotta think about that. Hockey in South Florida is wild. So even though Tampa's been winning it and Las Vegas been winning it, but still, I'm just saying it has to be acknowledged.
Well, it definitely does. And I watched games 5 and 6, so I did not watch Game 7 because of that. I didn't want to jinx it, so I watched I watched the last 2 minutes of the game. It was intense. It was one of the best hockey games I've seen. I've watched a lot of hockey games since we started this because I want to actually know what I'm talking about when we speak about the Panthers. We don't speak about the Panthers a lot here, but we do give them their props. We hope that they were able to break through last season, but this season, it really just makes it sweeter because on one, they played Connor McDavid, who was supposed to be the Michael Jordan of hockey in a lot of ways. And even so, he still ended up winning the Conn Smythe Award, which is the MVP of the playoffs, even though I thought Bobrovsky would do it. And they were saying, oh, Bobrovsky gets points off for the last 3 games, but, apparently McDavid didn't get points off for the first 3 games of the series. Everything is recency bias. But Florida was able to win by what they've been hanging their hat on the last 2 years, and that's been defense. They had the best defense in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and that's what they did. Those last 2 minutes
finals, but the last game it showed up.
The last game, game 7, when it counted, when they needed it most, I think when they were able to kind of let go of that pressure in this play, I think that's what really they hung their hat on. That's what they were able to win the Stanley Cup with the best defense Stanley Cup playoffs with the best goalie has been. Bobrovsky has been excellent. Saved 3 games in the Stanley Cup Finals, and I think he has one of the worst save percentages in Finals history because of the last 2 finals. But at the end of the day, he's a champion, and that's more than can be said for most teams. So, congratulations again to the Florida Panthers. We're looking forward to next season. They're already favorites to repeat, but we will see what happens. We never know what happens. Things happen during the off season. So, we're gonna move on with that. Talk a little bit more about them again when we come back with other podcasts. But today we're doing a special podcast. We're doing a sequel to probably one of our favorite podcasts, the Beast of the East podcast that we had last year. That was our YouTube premiere. So we're going to do this time, we're going to be talking about the West. It's going to be the best of the West since 2000, basically post-Jordan era. So while the Beast of the East was fun, the better conference has been, without question, has been the West. So we're going to break it down. Qualifications, because the West is better, the qualifications will be tougher than the Eastern one. So even to be considered, you have to have multiple final appearances in the new century. So that only considers 4 teams from the West: the Golden State Warriors, the San Antonio Spurs, Los Angeles Lakers, and the Dallas Mavericks. So we're not going to have all those other teams that can be involved like we had with the East. We're going to make it more linear and talk about these teams because anyway, we're going to end up talking about these teams anyway when it came down to it. So discussion 1. All right, so we're going to do it like we did with the Eastern ones, but I'm going to break it down again. So discussion 1, best team run of seasons. So that means best consecutive playoff runs. So length is going to be, the points of discussions are going to be length of seasons included in that playoff run. The run cannot have a missed playoff run inside it. So the Warriors run, for example, is going to have to be broken up because there are a couple years that they did not make the playoffs, even though they got that 4th championship. So it has to be considered as 2 separate runs, but really you're only considering the first run that they had when they made the finals 5 straight times. So the impressiveness of the run also goes to the longevity and dominance of the run. Each team won multiple championships except the Mavericks during their runs. So if there's any disagreement, the deciding factor will be the depth of the runs. So for reference, the Lakers had a 10-season playoff run with their 3 championships inside of it. The Spurs, with their 5 championships inside of it, had a 22-season NBA record playoff run. The Mavericks had a 12-season run with their championship, and the Warriors, their longest one was a 7 with the 5 NBA Finals appearances. So, all right, gentlemen, I'll leave it to y'all. Start off with Ajax. In your opinion, who had the best run for a Western team from the 2000s?
Oh man, that's tough. I really wanted to put on when we got this topic, I really wanted to put on my hating badge. I don't know why the Mavericks are even in the discussion with these other 3 teams, honestly. I mean, I don't know why.
If we're going to be real about it, the Mavericks are probably going to finish last in this discussion. But by our rules,
they will.
By our rules, and the fact that they also made the finals this year, they have to be involved in discussion.
I 100%. I just want to put that out there. I just want to put that out there. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to make sure that niggas know.
That was clear.
We're clear. You know how I feel about that. But I guess probably because y'all a little bit older. I might say either the Spurs or the Lakers. I don't think y'all wrong, but I gotta go with the Warriors because growing up into basketball, understanding basketball, that was the most dominant team. And then excuse me, I actively saw them change how basketball was played. You know what I'm saying? They were dominant on the court, then even off the court with just the trickle down from the NBA and how NBA teams kind of shaped their teams to play like the Warriors, defend like the Warriors, and then trickle down to college and trickle down to high school trickle down Little League, all that stuff like that. Like, bro, I see it now. I see it when I train. All kids want to do is shoot threes. Like, all kids want to do is take threes in transition. Like, they want to play like the Warriors. So, and then add on the fact they actually won championships too, and they changed the way the game was played. Like, I'm gonna give it to them. I'm a little bit biased because y'all know that Steph Curry, my favorite player playing right now. After probably my second favorite player of all time after D Wade, of course. But I'm gonna go with the Warriors with that.
He's your second favorite player all time?
After.
Oh no, yeah,
for sure, 100%.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he has a ton of respect for the Warriors, so I don't blame him on that. But what do you think, Nick?
Shout out to Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're on the same page with this. This pains me personally to say this because I grew up watching basketball in this era and I hated this team. But you cannot deny the longevity and the dominance of the San Antonio Spurs. You just
agree. I agree.
You
I
can't.
think this is the only answer.
It really is. Like, I'm looking at it right now. Like, from
97.
Yeah, well, that's when they
97,
missed the
98.
playoffs at first. But 98 till 2019, they made the playoffs consistently and have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 championships within the playoff run. That's insanity.
Hey,
That's dominance. And some of their, and even some of their wins just their regular seed, like, I don't know, just they dominated even in the playoffs in a lot of these seasons. I hate to admit it. I did not like any aspect of the Spurs, not one bit. I hated the Frenchman. Mono Ginobili I thought was soft. I didn't care for Tim Duncan. I didn't want to talk too much shit, but I didn't care for Tim Duncan growing up. But the dominance upon which they had and the consistency and them just showing up year in, year out, and then even just for how long it was. Like, even their bad years, because I think about some of the Spurs' bad years, they still make the playoffs, which I think even speaks in the West, which speaks to the level of consistency and organization, which is just insane.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, begrudgingly, I have to give this to the Spurs. I just have to. 5 championships. And shit, they won some of the chip championships against the Lakers, or not the Lakers, but they had to beat the Lakers to get to the championship. So, they really dominated in the era where, they had some competition in the West. And my hat goes off to them as much as I hate them.
I will say, only thing I'll say about that is I do feel like they, after that 2014 championship, I feel like they underachieved.
Yeah.
From like that 14 after they won championship to like 18, 19. Like, I feel like they had like a lot of second place finishes in the West and they would just flame out and lose in the second round.
No, that's very true. In 2015, they lost in the first round. 2016, they lost in the semifinals. Well, they lost in the conference finals in 2017.
Oh, they was. Hold up. 2017.
That was the year they went 60 wins and Kawhi Leonard's ankle
got
snapped.
Yeah, all right, yeah, I'll take that
back.
They
had 61. They had 61-21. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So even then, it's just that their basketball is boring. That's what the Spurs basketball is boring. It's boring to watch. It's not flashy. It's boring to watch, but
it's this about because I be having this conversation. It's just about boring basketball. Are the Mavericks entertaining to you?
Current Mavericks?
Yeah. All right. Are the Mavericks or the James Harden Rockets, were they entertaining to you?
Yeah. No. Ugh, sorry.
I'm in the same way you, man.
I'm just asking because I be hearing this whole thing about boring, but to me, you dribbling the basketball for 16 seconds or 20 seconds, that's not entertainment to me either. So it's kind of like, that's why I try to ask people, like, what's entertaining basketball to you?
Was the Rockets era of James Harden boring basketball? No.
To me it was. But
I don't like James Harden. But I can't say what he was doing from a scoring aspect was impressive, even though the refs were letting him get away with a lot of bullshit.
I get it. was it entertaining to watch from start to finish? I'm not talking about the highlights. I'm not talking about you going on YouTube because that's what niggas be tripping about. You actually turning on the game from tip.
Oh, me sitting down and watching a whole Rockets game?
Yes.
Never.
Yes.
I've never done that.
Thank you.
I've never done
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. No, I'm not talking about the highlights with Luka and Harden. Like, yeah, like their highlights are phenomenal. But actually watching the Mavericks or a Rockets game is boring. They're gonna get like
it was like
Mavs in the
watching-
playoffs were good though.
They're gonna get
watching
the
Mavs versus
They're
Timberwolves.
They're
better.
gonna go between the legs a couple times. They're gonna do a step back three, and they're gonna miss it more times than they make it. That's not entertaining basketball. You know what I'm saying? I would rather watch the Spurs ball movement than James Harden or Luka Doncic dribble the air out the basketball. That's just me. But
I don't know.
that's just me. That's just me. I guess
The Spurs back then didn't even dunk the ball.
No, they didn't. But
They did. It was all layups.
But that's the thing, though. Dunking the basketball it's not always as successful as people think. Look at Lob City. I mean, when it came down to it, the Clippers were very
That team was
entertaining. But the
flawed.
Clippers
If we're going to talk about that.
yeah, but they have nothing to show for it. So, but I saw Jay that you concurred with Nick on that one. So, what's your opinion on that?
I mean, just
So you
look
concurred
at
with the Spurs.
if you look at their first championship of this era, 98-99, they only lost 2 games in that run. One to the Timberwolves, one to the Knicks in the NBA Finals. They beat the Lakers and the Trailblazers, who I think they had Scottie Pippen on that team.
In 99?
Yeah, 99.
Yeah, they had Scottie Pippen on that team.
So like that in itself was impressive.
Oh no!
And also, yeah, beating the Lakers, sweeping the Lakers. I don't think
Was 99 the 99
No,
was
that wouldn't have been Scottie Pippen wouldn't have been on that team. He would have been he was on the Rockets that year.
okay.
That's the year after the Bulls broke up. He went to the Rockets.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still then the
Didn't they have the player strike in 99?
Yeah,
So
that was
that's
like,
the lockout. Yeah, the lockout shortened season.
that was a
Yeah.
lockout.
That's their first championship. Mm-hmm.
And then to beat the Shaquille O'Neal Lakers in their second title run 4-2.
Yeah. That was
That was nuts. And just to keep on beating, like, in all honesty, even to beat that great Pistons team in 05, which is very hard to do. Like their wins, their path to victory was tough. No, except for 07. That was pretty much an easy goal.
Yeah, 07 was not the best year. Mm-mm.
You just had a LeBron,
Especially with the Mavericks losing in the first round.
So, but like, yeah,
So
I just feel like
that.
compared to the Warriors and compared to the Mavericks, they had a like, I guess if you talk about strength of schedule type of thing, there's no such thing in the NBA, but like, still they had a harder pathway, and to go to the playoff 19 straight times, it's insanity.
22 straight times.
That's insanity.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with salary cap and people getting old and stuff like that. It's incredible.
That's true. I'll give it up. Sure.
Well, their run really it spans like 3 different eras of really dominance. It started in the Jordan era, went past their own era, and then went past the Lakers era of dominance, and then kind of finished with the Warriors their dominance. All these other teams had to go through the Spurs to get championships. And when you look at it also too. So I think that has to be mentioned as well. I mean, the Lakers 10 season run, it holds something that the rest of these other teams don't. It has a 3-peat. So I think that's really impressive as well. So, I mean, actually, for me, go ahead.
Actually, with the Spurs, they never went back to back.
Never. Mm-mm.
They didn't, but it was like only 2 years hiatus. So it was like 99, 2003, 2005, 2007, 2014.
They won 3 and 5. That was their best. That was their best run.
All right, but like, can you really call that dominant?
Yes, because we're talking about a specific time frame, like, or not a specific time frame. You could call it dominant because 3 and 5 in 5 years is not a simple feat.
It's not.
Sure, it's not back to back. Sure, that's fine. But to constantly put up something that good to consistently within a 5-year period is impressive in and of its alone.
All right. The only thing,
Arguably the same players is actually
only reason
Exactly.
only reason I asked that question because it's like, as a Heat fan, for example, I'm kind of understanding like how much of a break you get when you do lose earlier in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So for the teams who actually go late and deep in the playoffs, back to back years,
It's a shortened season.
It's more difficult. So that's why I'm asking, like, is it more impressive than what the Lakers did?
I see.
No, because
they had. Let me get this off, because they had a 3-peat and they had back to back. They did two things that the Spurs never did.
That's
fair.
True. I mean, no, that's true.
It's fair. But I put it like this: like, what's most impressive about the Spurs run, and this is what we talked about when it came to the Pistons run last year, it's the longevity of it.
It's 20-something years.
22 years. That's what's most impressive in the run. What's most impressive about the Warriors run is the 5 straight finals appearances. Playing deep into June is incredibly difficult. You see how the toll that it takes on teams, and you see what it really did to Kevin Durant at the end of that run.
The Spurs had some lulls in that 22 years, but they wasn't on nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. You know what I'm saying?
To meet the criteria was, did they make the playoffs?
No,
and in those lulls, they made the playoffs.
No, 100%. I'm just saying though, but like they wasn't on nothing. So it's like when I hear dominant, I'm just like, even from just like my memory, it was kind of like when I thought of dominance, I thought of the Lakers. I didn't think of the Spurs. I was just like, Spurs are there though. They there, but do I fear you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they there though, but I ain't really like on like no. Oh my God, Tim Duncan. Oh my God, Manu Ginobili. Oh my God, the Frenchman. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's what it was too. Is like that to do it with those kind of players. I felt like, I mean, Tim Duncan has my respect, but I'm never going to.
It just my biggest point is hard to call someone dominant who didn't repeat. That's just me.
Okay, I can give you that. That part I can give you, but for me, I just think that also a part of dominance is also being feared. I think. And also part of it also is just being there to have to go through. The fact of the matter is all the other teams, they had to go through the Spurs at some point to get to where they wanted to go. And so, to repeat, the Warriors had to beat the Spurs. For the Lakers to repeat, the Lakers had to beat the Spurs a couple of times. The Mavericks had to beat the Spurs to get where they needed to go. Honestly, there was that Mavericks Spurs series from the 06 changed the rules for all of the NBA too. So that's part of it as well. So, I mean, I think if we have to award points, I will give the full points to the Spurs because of the longevity of the run and the fact that they do have 5 championships to it. But I will give the Warriors a second one because of them 5 straight finals appearances. So, and they still got 3 championships, the same as the Lakers. And then I'll give the Lakers the 3 points. And then Mavericks is the Mavericks on that. So, is everybody cool with that? Does that seem fair?
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just laughing at these draft picks that's happening right now.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
There's no one in this draft. No one.
You got
has a face in this draft.
Bro, you got 2 role players going top 3, bro. I am crying.
It's gonna be bad.
This is bad. There is not one face to this draft.
Like, I know the draft picks. I watch college basketball. I know them. So like Reed Shepherd going 3 to me is insane. Like I'm genuinely like laughing. Like Reed Shepherd going 3 is funny to me.
That's Stephon Castle. This guy is Stephon Castle just went 4th. His pro comp is Anthony Black. Who the fuck is Anthony Black?
Plays for Orlando. Went to the Spurs.
I think I think so.
Yeah, he's going to the Spurs.
All right, that's a good pickup.
I guess, but like
it's not
a good
look
look though when your pro comp is somebody who nobody knows. That's not a good look. Nick, did you know who Anthony Black is? You're a Magic fan.
I'm
not like that.
Went to Arkansas,
He off the bench, but I mean, it's not like
get
Black in the game.
He had an alright rookie season. He had a rookie season for a 19-year-old. I feel like,
Uh,
but yeah, Steven Castle, I feel like he'll be a good player.
yeah, I mean,
like,
I know who Castle is because I watched UConn be dominant the last 2 years, but I didn't his program that's not very encouraging for me. I wouldn't be encouraged if I was the team.
I don't know why you compare him to somebody who hasn't really established what he is as a player yet. That's kind of confusing to me.
It's like they know that they don't have much to talk about in this draft. But all right, moving on to discussion 2. The best players from each team. Basically, who has acquired the most talent during the new century. Tiebreakers will go to teams that drafted and developed their own talent, besides free agent pickups, though free agent pickups will be discussed. Once discussion,
I'm sorry, real quick. He looked like the quarterback for the Texans.
CJ Stroud?
Yeah, he looked like CJ Stroud, dog.
They favor. You got it.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, Phil. Go back. Sorry, bro.
Discussion 2. The best players from each team, like I said, who has acquired the most talent during the new centuries. Tiebreakers will go to teams that drafted and developed their own talent. Once the discussion will be most impressive collection of talent. The best individual players, how much how much this individual player's legacy can be tied to the team that is represented by them for a franchise. So when you think about this player's best moments in their career, does it come with this franchise, basically? So for reference, the Warriors can claim Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Draymond
How can
Green.
they claim Kevin Durant? Okay, whatever.
Kevin Durant's 2 championships comes in a Warriors uniform.
I feel like he played his best basketball.
His best basketball is
it's easy when you got a whole squad of all-stars on the team.
Just like LeBron's best basketball is probably with Miami. His legacy defining moments with Cleveland.
I don't think LeBron's best basketball was with Miami.
We can say that about a lot of players, Dick. You can say that about a lot of players, Dick.
Oh, LeBron drug that sorry-ass Cleveland team to the fucking championship. That wasn't his best basketball.
No, it wasn't.
No, consistently.
Especially how
when you go by the numbers,
I would say for a period of time. For a period of time, Miami was his best basketball.
He was disgusting.
But for a single playoff run, when he took that,
that's different. Now that's a different discussion. His best playoff, I can agree with his best playoff run being that is the most valuable playoff run. But his best basketball in his career,
he had 2 All-NBA players beside him.
You talk about his prime? Are we talking about prime? His prime is Miami.
I think it's prime.
I think that is. I guess, but he's been able to extend his prime longer than anyone else. So, I think the best parts of his prime, his most consistent parts, came in Miami. That's another discussion.
No, you can't, because not a lot of players have played with 4 other All-Stars. No, you can't say that.
4 other All-Stars. You mean
3 other All-Stars? You mean, right?
Huh? You know what I meant.
But also to get what I'm saying about the Warriors, that also includes David Lee, Andrew Bogut, Andrew Wiggins, and Andre Iguodala. Spurs can claim Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Kawhi Leonard, Robert Horry, Brent Barry, Steven Jackson, and Danny Green. The Lakers, of course, get Kobe, Shaq. They can I guess, for this argument, can claim LeBron James, Anthony Davis. Also can claim Robert Horry, Derek Fisher, and Rick Fox. And
well, can you really claim Robert Horry? Because Robert Horry balled out when he was with Houston.
He did. But Houston is beyond the scope of this conversation, though.
That's true.
Not the new. Because
Robert Horry played for
Houston
a long
in the mid-90s. Yeah, he made a lot of clutch shots for a lot of clutch teams. The Mavericks, Dirk Nowitzki, Luka Doncic. I guess you can claim Kyrie Irving, Jalen Brunson, Jason Terry, Jason Kidd, Tyson Chandler, J.J. Barea, Jerry Stackhouse, and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Michael Finley.
So, are we saying that these players are the best that they had, or were they at their peaks in their career with this team?
Basically, peaks of their career, with their team.
Take Kyrie out for the Mavericks, then.
Well, yeah, he can do that, but also too, it's part of the discussion is the best collection of talent as well. So that's kind of what you're talking about. So basically, who was able to acquire through the draft, through free agency signing, and develop the best talent throughout this era. So let's start off with you, Jack.
I think the key word is develop.
I gotta go Spurs.
Then if I'm going with develop, I'm going with the Warriors. If we're going to develop.
You can
And I
expand
know I
upon
didn't get
that.
to say this, but I don't think Kevin Durant's best years were with the Warriors.
I don't
It's
either.
like, huh? I think they were with the Thunder, in my opinion, but
I don't think so. But yeah, I understand. I ain't gonna argue with you about it.
I can respect that argument. So that's what you said. So let's expand upon that when it comes to it. But you said you still go with the Warriors here. So why do you go with the Warriors?
because you had to, first of all, you had to develop Steph Curry's injury early on in his career.
Mm-hmm.
You had to manage that, and then you had to draft around him. Then make decisions to get rid of Monte Ellis, who was a hindrance to Steph Curry's development. Who in turn made Steph Curry more ball dominant, a better point guard per se. And then you had the
That's what
draft
we need on
Clay.
point guard.
You had draft Clay. You had to let Clay flourish as a defender as well as a shooter. And then you had to let Draymond be Draymond. And then you had Andre Iguodala. I know you acquired that. You acquired David Lee, who was one of my favorite players, honestly. I like Sean Livingston for that team. You resurrected Andrew Wiggins' career. Poole, developing Poole at a very critical time where y'all were declining.
Mm-hmm. I won them a championship.
Yeah, it's one championship. Yeah, I just think that job that they did was more impressive than the Kobe and Shaq and the Shaq was pretty much a finished product when he got to the Lakers.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
What do you mean finished product? Like his game had
His
no more room
game.
to grow? Okay,
Honestly, he
okay.
might decline a little bit in LA, to be honest. To me, I think he was a lot more explosive
That's an
in
interesting
Orlando.
point.
Maybe his athleticism, but not his dominance.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
became more dominant in LA for sure.
yeah, but
definitely became more dominant,
he was scary in Orlando, and
He was athletic in Orlando.
if Kobe had got well, you know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna even go there, but I do kind of feel like he was on decline of where he was, even though he was still dominant, most dominant big man, and just his status rose. But I feel like he would be in the GOAT conversation if he kept his athleticism in LA. I'll say that.
I agree with that.
Oh yeah.
So
We'll leave that discussion for the next time we get together. Because I do think that Shaq does belong a little bit more in the GOAT conversation than people want to admit, but we'll talk about that.
I mean, he doesn't want to be in that conversation. So if you don't,
No, he does, and I think that's what
Oh
knocks
yeah,
him.
he does. I think he does.
No, he said it straight up.
said-
I don't want to be in the GOAT conversation. I want to be in the best center conversation. That's it. Because he doesn't feel like he deserves that.
I don't think I consider
be in that conversation.
I consider Shaq a very self-aware guy, and I feel like he himself knows he didn't work hard enough to even be considered in that GOAT conversation. I think he himself knows that. I think he knows.
I can't say the man ain't worked hard enough. His game.
He said it himself. Nick,
Did he?
He said this himself.
Oh yeah, he said it multiple times.
He said this himself. This isn't me guessing. This isn't me like just going over the stats and just saying. He said it himself. I didn't work hard enough. I showed up. I didn't work out all off season. I knew Kobe had me.
Her.
He like they were true. That's what's funny about the relationship. I know we can do a whole podcast on their whole relationship. They were actually perfect foils for one another. I think they taught each other a lot about how to enjoy life and enjoy the game, and I think that's really what it was. And that's also why they butted heads in their younger years as well. It's like they were just the antithesis of one another. And so Kobe had a different type of dog in him that like it caused him to like not be any type of satisfied with anything. Shaq,
They're both crazy.
As soon as he got his first championship, he was like, "Yeah, I got this," and it was like for him, that's all he wanted. It's like I think he enjoyed getting the three and getting the fourth in Miami too before Kobe got in. I think he enjoyed it, but
I will argue. My fault. Go ahead.
Do I think it drove him the way that it drove Kobe to get that 5? No, I don't think so. I don't think he had that drive in him like Kobe did. But at the same time, I think his talent alone puts him in that best center conversation, and that's what's wild to me. But go ahead, Ajax, you saying?
I will argue that after he got that one, he stopped caring as much.
Yeah.
And then the last two, he kind of coasted, and that's how good he was. that he could coach them to the next 2 championships. You know what I'm saying? But like, I think after he got that first one, he stopped caring as much. He stopped working as hard. I mean, like you just hear from like how he talks about his career that's what it was. He wanted that one so bad that he kind of coasted into like the next 2. You know what I'm saying? I feel like his first year in Miami, he was locked in. But like, after that, like how bad he was in the finals in 06. But then after that, it just went downhill from there. So yeah. But I gotta give it to the Spurs because obviously, Tim Duncan or whatever like that. That's kind of like a no-brainer. They're one of the best first, number 1 picks of all time. But their next 2 cornerstones to kind of be like, I think Tony Parker was a late first round pick, and I think Manu was a second round pick. So for them to basically turn late round picks into Hall of Famers, arguably, I feel like that's been like more amazing, and for like the longevity of it too. That's been awesome. And then like turn Kawhi Leonard into an MVP candidate, especially with like how he was projected to come out when he came out of college. Because I remember when Kawhi came out of college, I didn't expect what he became at all.
Nobody did.
I didn't expect what he became at all. So when you talk about development, that's development right there. So yeah, and then like all the others, just like the smaller pieces they had.
Their role players played the role very well.
Boris Diaw becoming.
They revived his career.
Yeah,
he was done after.
They revived a lot of players' careers, man. I know Steven Jackson hates this because he hates the Spurs organization overall, but him having his most impactful years in the NBA with the Spurs. And this countless other Danny Green. I know he got drafted by the Cavs, but he didn't become a solid role player or in the best 3-point shooters in the finals until he got with the Spurs. So, like we actually talk about development. That's it right there. They took low-key guys who wasn't really like guys.
Even recently, you could say Rudy Gay. They revived Rudy Gay's career.
Not really.
You don't think so?
Nah, he wasn't good with the Spurs, in my opinion.
Nah. What, he didn't score for a little bit there?
No, I don't think so. Look it up. I don't think he was that good with the Spurs.
Well, that's that. But I think that one, if they get one, it just disappoint. I have to agree with you on that one. I think the Spurs kind of take this one. I think what the Warriors did is actually really impressive with their development and what they've been able to do. Players like we forgot for Warriors like Leandro Barbosa, are we able to secure Sean Livingston is just a huge story with that. But also too is like you think about the role players that the Spurs talk about, like you were mentioning Nick, Gary Neal, Patty Mills, George Hill. You can mention became a solid role player there. Yeah, I mean, like became like we're able to become like the different pieces for different championship level contenders after they left San Antonio as well. And that's not even talking about what happened with Kawhi Leonard. Now, not all these have happy endings with the Spurs. I think that the only players who basically have a happy ending with the Spurs franchise is Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili, because not even Tony Parker had a happy ending with them. I think he got shipped off to the Charlotte as well.
Well, he should have retired. That was his own damn fault.
He was
cooked. I agree with that.
Yeah, he was done and didn't want to accept it.
Yeah, but I think also, when it comes down to development, is what is the most important part. So I have to agree with that one. So what were you about to say, Nick? Do you have any more points on that?
I'm actually surprised y'all all didn't say the Warriors.
I did.
No, I'm all of us saying the Warriors. I thought I was going to say the Warriors too, because I was going to say the Spurs.
If you look at the Warriors, drafting, they've low key drafted horrible after.
That's only recently though.
Nah, if you look back, like they probably squandered. They had the number 2 pick and they took James Wiseman.
Yeah,
I
don't knock them for that though, because James Wiseman was so dominant when he played.
But only played like 2 games at Memphis though.
Yeah, but you predict how speedy of a character somebody has.
Yo, trust me, when you look back at their draft picks from just like the era that we're talking about, like era of their dominance or whatever like that, and you go through the draft picks, It looks bad. It's bad. It's bad. If you look at the players that they didn't get, you know what I'm saying? It's bad. It's really bad. It's not good. It's not good. It's not.
All right, real quick.
Well, tell me
Rudy
who
Gay
they-
averaged 23 points for his 4 years that he's with the Spurs.
Who?
You said 23?
Yeah, he averaged 23 points.
Rudy Gay. Let me look at that.
If I'm reading this correctly, yeah, when he was with the 4 seasons he was with the Spurs, he was
Is
averaging.
that for 36? So that's literally per game? Because that's impressive. That's a lot more impressive than I thought it was. Not gonna lie.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He
What am I
averaged,
looking at? Okay, so I'm looking at it wrong then.
you're
Whatever
looking
I'm
at
looking
minutes. He averaged 11, 13, 10, and 11.
Okay. Yeah,
You're
you're
looking
right.
at what? Per 36 or something like that?
Now he was looking at his
Yeah.
minutes.
Okay.
But who did the Warriors miss out on in these drafts that you keep on talking about?
Yeah. So go back to that. But they hit on Poole. They hit on Poole. Whatever, if you want to take it. They hit on Poole. They hit on Klay Thompson. They hit on Steph Curry. They hit on
Draymond.
David Lee.
All
They
right,
obviously hit on Draymond
Well, they
Green.
didn't draft David Lee.
Or
David
you
Lee
know
was
what I
drafted by
mean.
the Nets.
That's right. But who else did they miss out on?
Let me just go through it. All right. They could have got #1 pick in the James White. They could have got Anthony Edwards.
That wouldn't have fit though.
Yes, it would have.
Yeah.
Because Thompson tore his
Because
Achilles.
they made Poole.
Klay
So
Thompson
they could
tore-
make Anthony Edwards
Klay
fit.
Thompson tore his Achilles the night before. They should have made
Yeah,
that
but they
trade.
needed a big more than anything. All I'm saying, I'm not saying you're wrong about the pick, but the pick made sense at the time, and you can't say it didn't.
Yeah, hey man. Okay, let's go through it. Jacob Evans, y'all know who that is?
Yeah,
Nope.
the one.
No.
Did he make his bones with Utah?
Touche.
Damian Jones, you know who that is?
Nope,
He won a championship in Cleveland, right?
No.
No? Then no, I have no clue then who you're talking about, my bad.
All right.
Hmm.
Nico Mannion, do you know who that is?
Nope.
Yeah. Oregon.
What
he
are
was,
they picking at, though? Because I don't want to take all of that. What are they picking at, though?
They're picking late first round.
And who
But
are they missing out
there
on?
were players to take though. That's my point with it.
Nico Mannion I know, but I only know like because he played at Arizona. Yeah, it's not a good pick. But that was also during that
All
season
right.
when they had the worst record in the NBA.
I give y'all two. I can just like look through it. They took Jacob Evans in 2018. Guess who got picked 5 picks later?
All right, go ahead.
Jalen Brunson.
They didn't need a point guard.
Like that's
Okay,
what I'm saying. This is big.
All right. Guess who went 8 picks later? Mitchell Robinson.
Okay.
All right, let me go to the Damian Jones draft. Damian Jones went 30. Guess who went 2 picks later?
Which draft?
Zubac.
What year is this?
Zubac.
Huh?
It's 2016. Zubac.
Zubac?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They needed a center that year. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, he would have been. That would have been a good fit. That would have been a good fit.
Because like I know y'all try to like downplay because like the way the Warriors play, they still do need guards. You know what I'm saying? Because Steph likes to play off ball, so I do think Jalen Brunson would have been a good pick back then. So
I think Jalen Brunson was able to make a Mavericks team go to the conference finals playing off ball for Luka. I think he'd be able to make it work with Steph Curry.
Well, who was on their roster that year? Who was playing?
Go ahead.
Who was on the roster that year? Wasn't that
2016?
Yeah.
No.
They had
when Brunson got
didn't
drafted.
they still have They still had Livingston though, didn't they?
I think he retired.
Yeah, but he was on his way out. I mean, his development there too. They played like what 5? They also played Barbosa at that point. They played a lot of guards at that point.
They were playing Barbosa.
About Golden State is that like they had opportunities to extend the window, and they failed at every single opportunity.
Which is scary when you think about it.
I can give you that. That's true. That is true.
Even
they paid a shit ton of luxury tax to win in that window and did nothing for their future.
I'll give you an example because even with the draft, that I do feel like they got 2 good guys within Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. Guess who went 1 pick after Kuminga? Franz Wagner.
Well, he
Who
went to
fits
Orlando.
better?
I'm mad at that.
I guess it's
Yeah, who-
Orlando. I guess that's
I
Orlando's
get
game
that.
on that one.
Well, who fits better with the Warriors? Pass, dribble, shoot. That is not what the Warriors do. Who fits better?
Wagner.
Huh? Yeah.
Wagner fits better. He fits better for what they do. Yeah, Wagner does.
Oh, he fits just fine in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that's the point. Orlando play. That's the
But,
point
like,
he's making.
The only good one of the few good things Orlando has done.
And look, I love Moses Moody, but for like the way that he plays, I would prefer Trey Murphy, who's in New Orleans. So my thing with the Warriors is like they could have extended that window that they have, but they failed at every opportunity. Like they could have did anything else other than take James Wiseman. Like they had offers on. Like I think they could have did a trade with Chicago where they would have got Wendell Carter Jr. and their pick for that year and the next year. They turned it down.
Yeah,
So
that is true.
they could have did anything else. I still think they should have got Anthony Edwards because when Klay Thompson tears his Achilles and he has back-to-back 2 leg injuries, you take a guard. Like you take your first shooting guard. If you it's not unforeseen because he did it the day before the draft. That's like you want to say like it's like you want to call yourself light years ahead of everybody in the league. Taking Anthony Edwards would have been a light years move. Or trading out and getting your center that you want and a pick in the same draft. That was pretty good. But instead, they took the nigga that didn't even get an offer from the Pistons this year. And he's an unrestricted free agent.
Wait a minute, the Pistons aren't bringing him back?
No. So like I'm not gonna say the words. Like every opportunity to increase the window that they have failed miserably. Like the only was like they've hit on. I'll give them the Kevin Looney pick and the Jordan Poole picks. They hit on those.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think when it comes down to it, when it comes to development, you have to give it to the Spurs because there's a reason why you're able to make it into a 22-year window. Player development. You have that consistency of it. That's what you get. So
I'm including to the Portland Trailblazers is crazy. Why'd you trade for DeAndre? Go ahead.
But it is what it is. All right, that one.
They probably plan on getting rid of him.
Hey,
it is what it is. All right, for that one, looks like we're giving the Spurs the full 5 points. Give the Warriors the 4, and then give the Lakers a 3 on that one. We agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let me update my. Excuse me, y'all. Let me update my point system here.
Yeah, because I don't really think the Lakers developed.
I didn't.
No, they don't.
Because you could argue that the Lakers didn't even draft Kobe.
They did.
They did.
They traded for him.
Yeah, but that was intentional, though.
I feel it, but like technically, he didn't draft him.
Technically, he did shoot up for the Hornets.
Yeah, but even after that, like who's a Laker draft pick that you can look at and be like, man, the Lakers really drafted him and developed him.
They haven't. Lakers just spend money for players.
There was a period where
Derek Fisher.
Derek Fisher was drafted in the same draft as Kobe Bryant.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, they drafted Derek Fisher. You can't knock that guy.
No, but when it comes down to it, though, I feel like over this period, I feel like they have given basically most of their draft picks have done better things with other teams. Like,
yeah,
they had a 6-year period where they could have really built a perennial, I think a powerhouse. Because you had Brandon Ingram in the organization. You had D'Angelo Russell. You had Lonzo Ball. You had
Randall.
Julius Randle. You had some good players.
All of them had to leave LA and playing with LeBron.
They didn't want to play with LeBron.
They weren't gonna develop playing with LeBron.
Yeah. Hey, I'm happy that you admit that. But yeah, they wasn't gonna.
Especially LeBron's game at that certain point in time, he needed people that could catch and shoot, and you had to be able to stand there and watch. I mean,
I think now he would want to Brandon Ingram by his side.
Yeah,
but,
now he would. I mean,
hindsight. Hindsight's 2020 on that one.
Rick Fox was originally drafted by Boston. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like they had the number 3, they had the number 2 pick 3 years in a row, and all of them had their best years outside of LA. So I think that's more telling about what goes on with them as well. But I think when it comes to acquiring talent in free agency, I think Anthony Davis getting a championship with him, LeBron getting a championship with them.
Yeah, you
That
already
2022. Kentavious Caldwell Pope. That 2020 Lakers team was a beast of a team. So I have to give it to him on that. All right. So all right, discussion 3 is going to be the best individual team season of the new century. Must include a championship, so not just the best record. So thus, the Warriors 73-9 record does not count towards this conversation.
Yeah, that little caveat gave me pause. I was like, oh man, yeah. I don't know about
saying, like, in the West, we're gonna have different standards on that. So the points of the discussion will be the impressiveness of the individual season, the impressiveness and dominance of the playoff run, the level of competition that they face, and the level of competition that they face on the way to championship. So the Warriors, who you can choose 2015, 2017, 2018, 2022. Spurs 03, 05, 07, 14. You can talk about the 99 championship as well because it still technically counts as post-Jordan in this new era basically that we going on. Lakers 2000, 2001, 2002, 2009, 2010, 2020. And the Mavericks, you can only talk about 2011. So get to it. So Jay, let's start off with you. What do you think has been the most impressive season by a Western team in this new era?
Impressive season or the best team?
Well, for this has been the best individual team season. So basically, it's kind of a bit of both on that.
Because I was gonna say 2001 Lakers.
You can say that. It's impressiveness and dominance of the season. I think you can make a good argument for that, going 15-1 in the postseason.
I feel like they had a soft run.
Well, I mean, at the same time, you have to win games. So when it comes down to it, so you can argue your point.
No, I'm gonna go 16-17 Warriors.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and argue that point.
Well, you sweep Damian Lillard. Mm-hmm. You sweep Donovan Mitchell, I think.
Yes.
You sweep
Kawhi Leonard. Marcus Aldridge.
And you lose one game versus LeBron. I mean, and you have Kevin Durant. You have it's probably the most dominant season. You only lose you only digress by 6 games last year, which that's a caveat. They might have rested at the end of the season anyways.
They did.
I would say that was probably the best season you've seen in those 23 years.
Okay. All right. Nick, what do you think? What was the best individual season you remember from the new century for our Western team?
Can I remember? I might have to say what Julian just said. I mean, when you go back to the 16-17 Wars, they went 16-1 in the playoffs. Like Julian just said, they only lost once to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Their point differential was 11.63. Like they had an 11-point differential between all the games. And they also had the defensive player of the year that year in Draymond Green for overall team. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to not talk about how dominant they were that season. I mean, it was not very close.
No, it wasn't. I remember we going through that. We were watching that. We all kind of knew what was going to happen, but still to watch them do it and the way that they did it, it's like, okay, yeah, how are they going to? And then, I guess the only time they even really threatened was that game 1 against the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals. When they were down by 20. And then they still came back with that crazy ass comeback. And they still ended up winning that game by double digits, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, like, that kind of dominance is just not even seen. You can't even really do that in 2K. Really, that's how dominant that was. But Ajax, what do you think?
Because I had to make sure I wasn't tripping. I'm gonna go the 2010 Lakers.
Okay. All right. Let me see that. Argue that point for me.
Because as y'all know, especially back then, and there the West was a bloodbath. The Lakers had the Thunder in the first round. That series went 4-2.
It beat Durant, right? I think that was Durant.
Yeah, Durant, Harden, Westbrook. Next round they had the Jazz with Carlos Boozer and Deron Williams, and Andre Kirilenko. And in the conference finals, they had the Phoenix Suns with Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire. And then they played the Boston Big Three in the finals. So I got to give it.
That is a good season. That was a good season.
So it's like when you talk about, competition and strength of schedule, whatever like that, because y'all know, like, you couldn't make the West playoffs if you didn't win over 50 games. So
that's when I started to respect the fuck out of Kobe. I was just a Kobe hater back then, but that season I was
Kobe wore me down too.
Yeah, I was like, you got to get that man his flowers because that shit he did was
pause.
I said flowers. I didn't say.
I'm talking about Philip. Like, that was.
I didn't even know what I said. I forgot.
He said Kobe wore me.
Oh, my bad. Rest in peace, Kobe. I guess. So that. But now I'm looking at this. This is from 2008. This is just this was the West was at that time, to go to Ajax's point. In the 2008, the Lakers went 57-25 to win the first seed. The eighth seed that year was the Nuggets, who went 50-32. Mm-hmm. The West was only decided by 7 games. 7 games, y'all.
Amen.
Hornets were 56-26. Spurs 56-26. Jazz 54-28. Rockets 55-27. They were the lower seed because they won more games, so they had the home advantage in that first series against them. Suns were 55-27 at the 6th seed. The 7th seed were the Mavericks, who were 51-30. The 8th seed the 8th seed would have got the 2nd seed in the East this season in 2008 for that Western Conference Finals. That's what it was around that time. So I do have to give you that, because I was wondering if someone was going to bring up that 2010 team, because that was a difficult playoff run, and so I have to give you on that. So
I don't know. I might want to give it to the Lakers.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
It was wild.
Jen, so any other points on that one?
Yes, stand on that one.
Mm-hmm. I gotta stand on that. I have to agree with you. That 2010 team, I think it kind of gets lost to history because the Big Three started the next season, and also the way that they went out when it came to playing the Mavericks the next season, which actually I think the Mavericks had a very difficult run, as much as I want to admit it. But the Mavericks had to play Durant team coming into his powers in the conference finals. They swept that same Lakers team that had that run last year in the second round. In the first round, they played well, whatever. It was a tough team, I'll say, on that one. And then of course they had to play. They beat 4 different 50-win teams to win a championship. So for me, I will give it to the Lakers on that one. I'll give them the 5 points on that one.
Yeah, Kobe really ain't had that much on his team when you think about it, look back at it.
Yeah, like funny about like these 20 like the 29 like the 2009 Lakers and the 2010 Lakers, people be trying to say that those Lakers teams were a super team.
They're not.
Was it? Who said
that? He doesn't have a top 75 teammate on those teams.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that's what people be trying to say about them Lakers.
I'm saying, yeah, there's no top 75 teammate on those teams. That's blasphemous.
I think it is too. Hey, you don't need
to win up against.
I think
it went up to win. Play teams went up against multiple teams that had top 75 teammates on that. So if you put it by that, I mean, that's kind of ludicrous.
I think just people just trying to play down what Kobe did with them 2 championship teams, him going back to back with that team. I think they're just trying to downplay that.
I think that what Kobe did was impressive, and I think that's what elevated him into the GOAT conversation, is those runs that he had there. But that's another conversation.
He needed those. Mm-hmm.
He did.
He finally got what he needed out of Powell.
Exactly.
I think that that Olympic run was important for Powell.
No wait, run.
Yeah,
getting busted in the chest by Kobe. Getting his ass whooped a little bit. I think they put a little bit of a fire underneath him.
Yeah, Kobe. Kobe had his gold medal ring on his locker.
But I think that's also speaks to kind of the low-key leadership that I think he started to display. I think in the end, Kobe as a personality kind of he pushed away more than he attracted overall in his career. But during that time when he needed it most, I think that was when he was the best leader. But we'll talk about that in the next podcast. I'm gonna give 3 to that. I'll give 4 to the Warriors. I'm gonna give 3 to that Dallas run because really that 2011 run because I just think that was really more impressive than people remember because of the type of teams and the level of teams they had to play. With that, when we talk about strength of schedule, those are 4 top quality teams in my opinion they had to beat.
Oh,
the Mavericks, the 2011 run. I'm gonna give the 4 points to the Warriors because of sheer dominance that they had on that one. I'm gonna give 3 points to the Mavericks on that because one, beating the big 3 of the Heat, beating the Thunder with Durant, Harden, and Westbrook, whether they were right in front of the times of that team, they went to the finals the very next year. So also beating that Kobe team that we just talked about that's going to win this round too, then gives them extra points as well. And they swept that Kobe team, and that's really that was the end of it for them. The way Andrew Bynum giving the elbow to JJ Barea in that 4th game. That's the most telling image of when it comes to them. So
yeah, true.
I got something to say because it's like
go ahead.
I just want to say I'll never forgive LeBron for topping off Dirk's legacy by playing like a pussy in that 2011 finals. I'll never forget. He was pathetic. He was the worst I've ever seen. He cost D-Wade a Finals MVP. When he dies, I'll spit on. Like when he dies, I'll spit on his grave.
Austin, shut the fuck up.
There's so much I had to say about that awful, pathetic performance. I hope he didn't pray.
Dirk Nowitzki needed one.
I hope
he needed one for the sake of his career.
I hope he thanked God for that god awful performance. That.
But that's actually a conversation.
I'll stop. My fault.
That will be a conversation we got to talk about when it comes to Dirk. Because without that finals, when I think people are gonna view Dirk Nowitzki in a very different person.
That's my point about
exactly. They wouldn't view him as much of anything.
Hey,
like another great foreigner couldn't do anything.
Hey, yo, did Dirk thank LeBron in his Hall of Fame speech?
Wow. No, he didn't. Stop.
He need to. He need to.
All right.
He need to. He need to.
They do. I'll give it to you.
I want to thank LeBron for playing like a. You know what?
We're gonna move on to discussion 4. All right. Discussion 4 is the best head coach of this era. Simply put, best head coach for each franchise. Once the discussion will be overall resume, will factor into as consistency will be a big factor for the coach's legacy. But their work in the new century will be the deciding factor in this discussion.
So you talking about as if there was a tiebreaker?
There's a tiebreaker for it, but I mean, we'll get to it. Warriors, Steve Kerr, he has 4 championships. Greg Popovich, 5. Phil Jackson has 11, but for this argument, it's 5 championships count, basically. And Rick Carlisle has 1. So, who
no one's talking about Rick Carlisle, even though he's a great coach.
Yeah, because I really think he fucked up this the Pacers Celtics series, but that's my opinion. But we'll start off with you, Jay. Who do you think was the best head coach in the West during this time period?
I'm struggling between Popovich and Phil Jackson, but I'm going to Pop.
All right. So why do you go with Pop? What's the tiebreaker for you in that conversation?
The consistency of, I guess it's because of the amount of time where it's 20 years of going to the playoffs and like there's no breaks in between. It's like it's just consistently going to the playoffs, consistently competing. Like if Phil Jackson coached all the way through the whole 2010s, then maybe I'll give it to him, but he didn't. So I'm gonna go with Popovich.
I don't know. What about you, Nick? What do you think?
It's Greg Popovich. Now, it's Greg Popovich, but I think the serious question is he tainting his career coaching this long, or should he be retiring?
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
A real conversation.
I really do think it's kind of like he's overdoing it.
All right. Let me put it like this then. Has his coaching since the 2014 finals, has that tainted where he is at in this conversation? Has the last 8 years been more of telling than the first 14 years of the century? As the last 8, basically.
Mm. They've been bad. The Spurs have been bad. Let me look something.
What do you think, AJ?
Since 2020, it's been 11th, 10th, 10th, 15th, 14th. So
Yep.
for the past 5 years, they missed the playoffs, and
they have not been close.
yeah, they made a play in 2021 and 22.
I don't think honestly,
What you saying, AJ?
none of them teams. It's pop for me, but none of them teams I expect to do anything to do any better than they did.
Well, I put it like I think this is where the last few years is where I feel like Spo has kind of surpassed him as the best modern coach that we have.
Like, because you could definitely argue that like Pop hasn't overachieved, but
and Spo definitely has. That's not really a question of that. That's unquestionable. He's overachieved.
Like, at the same time, like I don't hold that against him. Honestly, like
yeah, and I think that's where it comes down to. So like the consistency and the amazingness that he had during his run, does that taint what he's had to deal with the last 5 years?
But gotta keep the same energy here because like y'all can't say 22 straight years, then turn around and be like, well, does him coaching this long?
I'm gonna say no because they still.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta keep the same energy there.
Last time they made the playoffs was 2019.
Right. So
I'm gonna say no, it's not. Granted, I didn't expect anything from those Spurs teams, as to Austin's point, but I can't say it hasn't. It can't be when you look at the numbers. The eye test, yes, but when you look at the numbers, I mean,
it's still
2019 they have 48 wins, huh?
It still diminishes him, in your opinion.
Yeah, well, at the eye test, but when you look at the numbers, I mean, 2017 they still had 61 wins. 2016 it was 67 wins. I mean, 2019 they still made the playoffs with 48 wins. I mean, he's still coaching at a high level. With it really has been the lack of talent that they've had. I think they've done a poor job of lately developing the team or getting the right pieces in the draft and all that stuff. But
he's not Bud Budenholzer with like having Giannis on the team and still losing the second round.
Yeah,
he's not Bud.
Jesus Christ,
he's not Bud Budenholzer, bro.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, because then I also want to think about it. So then I want to compare him to Phil Jackson, like Phil Jackson's later years. Phil Jackson's later years were not good.
Oh no,
they were terrible.
Like I don't like putting Phil in these conversations.
Grizzly got Edie.
Have you ever like have you ever seen Phil Jackson coach like a sorry team?
They're still sorry.
The Knicks.
Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were terrible.
And he was like,
he wasn't the coach though.
You see the reports about him. He was awful in terms of like his body language, the way he acted. He would fall asleep during draft workouts.
Yep.
Like he's not. Like you don't bring in Phil Jackson to develop talent. You bring in Phil Jackson to manage it. If you get where I'm coming from.
Oh, especially at that point in his career, especially when he came back to the coaching Knicks, like that, I felt like that was out of like
he's being Knicks.
Or what? What did he do with the Knicks?
He came back to manage the Knicks. Like he
didn't coach the Knicks. He
didn't coach them.
Because all right. Do you give Pop credit for being? Because I think he's a GM of the Spurs as well.
Yeah, he was. He hired himself as a coach.
Pop has all of authority. He's the totalitarian of the Spurs.
All right, so it is fair too. All right, do you blame him for like lack of talent as well? That was on the.
I can blame him for that.
That's fair. That's fair, sir.
But also, to a certain extent, it goes to the fact that even though he's had shitty teams, he's still getting them into the playoffs. So he's not getting fucking lottery picks. No, it's a double-edged sword. Do I lose to get generational talent, or do I just play this mediocre basketball that gets me into the playoffs every year because I'm a great coach?
Hey, man, look, I respect that they tanked at the right time.
Yeah,
I don't think they. I don't. You think you consider that tanking?
You get Wembanyama? Yeah,
I'll get Wembanyama. It's at the right time.
I think that team was just terrible.
They take the right time. No. Trading
That was by
DeJounte,
design.
and then trading DeMar. That was the right time.
They knew what they were doing. They
knew
knew
what
what
they
they were. I guarantee you the Spurs knew about Wembanyama before most of us did. And Penn State players were talking about Wembanyama for a long time too. He was famous in circles.
I remember Wembanyama when he was playing Chet in the U19s. So, and he was putting his foot in his ass.
I would say this though. I didn't expect Chet to be as good as he is.
Chet Holmgren?
Yeah, I didn't expect him to be as good as he is.
I still think he needs to put some weight on them bones.
Yeah, he needs to put
that'll happen every time.
But yeah. Like I expect him to be a good weak side shot blocker. I expect him to be a good shooter. I expect that from him.
I didn't.
But to fully anchor a defense, which he struggled to, because at the end of the day, he's still got a rebound. He's not a good rebounder right now because he's lighting the britches. So it is what it is.
So I think basically what the argument comes down to is Greg Popovich's supposed consistency versus
getting drafted by the Bulls.
Mataz Tellis.
Yeah, who the fuck is that?
He was with the G League Ignite.
Heard.
Oh, okay.
He was a potential number one pick coming into the year, but he had an up and down year. He was much higher than this. So I think this is a good pick for the Bulls, honestly.
As much of a good pick in this draft can be. So,
Heard. All right.
The Grizzlies got Zach Edey. So to let everybody know, as all the Heat fans are hoping that Zach Edey would fall to us. He's not going.
That's just no. I hope. Hey, good job. Hey,
Also, hey Zach Edey. We need a big. Bro. I guess we need a wing.
We need a big bro. We need to get bigger. Pause. We need to get bigger at all positions.
True.
Yes. I agree.
I was like, people be talking about centers and stuff. Like, how about we just don't play a power forward that's 6'5" next to Bam? Like, you know what I'm saying? How about we do that first? You know what I'm saying? Then we can talk about center. You know, hey, that's just me.
What position you play in the NBA?
I'm like power forward.
Nigga, you're 6 foot tall. You barely taller than me.
I think our small forward's too small. I think our power forward's too small. I think Bam does just fine considering all that.
But Bam's not. But now Bam is also not gonna win any height contests. Let's be real. But his athleticism helps him out with that.
He won the nuts contest. He be nutting up. Nutting up. He's nuts.
I know he does. He does. I do feel don't get me wrong. I do feel Bam Adebayo is an all NBA level center. I really do. But I agree with you, Austin. I think that you can't put a 6'5" power forward next to a 6'9", 6'10" center. I just don't think that works.
Talking outside. Man, that nigga be nutting up though. Come on,
No, don't get me wrong. I love Bam Adebayo. I really do. But I do agree with the sentiment that I think he's all, like I said, all NBA level player, but I do agree with the sentiment he needs more size and help. He does. Just does. So getting down to, like I said, I think the argument here is between really Greg Popovich's consistency that he showed with the Spurs versus kind of the dominance I think Phil Jackson showed with the Lakers when it comes down to it. Like, he has probably their five of their 6 best seasons. But the fact that it matters is like he took breaks in between it as well. So for me, I think that takes away points from it. But also I have to agree with Austin on this. Phil Jackson never coached a truly never didn't make the playoffs type team or anything like that. Each time he coached the Lakers, they made the playoffs. So
I have a point.
Go ahead.
I have a point. So Chris sent me his notes, and one of his notes or one of his points for Greg Popovich was the fact that of the coaching tree that Greg Popovich created.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
When it comes to Budenholzer, it comes to Budenholzer has a championship. Mike Brown is part of that tree. And Phil Jackson cannot boast that tree as well. So, yeah, I have to give it to Greg Popovich on this one. Hey, Jay, did you have any points with that?
No, I don't.
Mm-hmm. I do have to give it to Greg Popovich on that one. Greg Popovich.
I have a question.
Heard.
Do you guys think Steve Kerr is a good coach?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Do I think he is as good as everyone says? Yes, I agree with Ajax on that. I think stubbornness is kind of his downfall. Top 15 coach, yes, because of the sheer what he was able to do. Sometimes it takes a different voice. I think Mark Jackson needs to get a lot more credit for building that Warriors team.
That's what I think Mark Jackson could have done what Steve Kerr did.
I don't think
so.
I think Mark lacked the voice that was needed. I think Mark, and also I don't think Mark would have put Andre Iguodala on the bench. I don't think he would have done that.
I don't think their whole strength in numbers things happened without Steve Kerr.
Yes,
their bench wouldn't have been as good because obviously they won because of their starting lineup, but their bench was really, really good, and it was because of the system that their bench was able to be as good because they were involved, they touched the ball. Steve Kerr's system allows role players to be heavily involved in the offense. So,
So what is to be said for them now, though? Because I don't think they have plans, huh?
That's what I'm saying. He's stubborn.
Oh, that's what you mean by he's stubborn? Okay.
Exactly. Because you had to abandon that shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
This whole waiting for Steph to come off screens bullshit, that's not working. That's not gonna work anymore, man.
Yeah, everyone gets older. Even Steph Curry. It's like, it just doesn't. Yeah, the way they play right now is not working the way it is.
I think also that's caught up to their style of basketball.
Yeah, because everyone plays it. So also too, like what's happened with Klay the last couple of years as well. I think that goes to it as well. So yeah, but I think that at the same time, Steve Kerr is definitely getting third, but also you can't really be mad at Steve Kerr getting third to someone who he won championships with as a player for both coaches.
That's part two. That's true.
Yeah,
you get it.
So, Steve Kerr was never going to be higher than these two coaches who giving him some. So we give the Spurs 5 points on that one. Give the Lakers 4. We give the Warriors 3. On that, okay. So we update the points here. All right. So going into the final round, it's going to be Spurs 15, Warriors 15, Lakers 15, and the Mavericks have 3.
How the hell?
It really kind of, and honestly, if I'm being real about it, I kind of gifted them 3 with the 2011 one.
I
did, but I really believe in that championship run. I do think it's more impressive than any of the Spurs runs, in my opinion. I do think that 2014 run could be argued, but for me, I just thought the Mavericks played. I think they played better teams than the Spurs did in those runs, in any of their runs. Just saying.
All right, whatever, man.
Basically, all right. So, discussion 5: best overall organization. So, because this one is probably going to be the most difficult one. Basically, it's going to be consistency of the organization. Basically, everything that we've talked about. We touched on a little bit of these, all these subjects in the prior conversations, but this is one that brings it home. Consistency of the organization, the draft success, free agency success, retention success when it comes to retaining their free agents. Overall success will be the deciding factor, like it was for the East. So I have the records from 2000 from them, so they will be like the overall deciding points. But basically, we're going to discuss like who has been the best organization since Michael Jordan retired. So, Jay, we'll start off with you. Who do you think has been
best organization?
Mm-hmm.
Considering like media outlook and everything like that. I mean, that means I guess how the media looks at them, the amount of scandal. I guess about the amount of money they could potentially make as well.
Okay, you're adding things we didn't add in the first one.
There's going to be also is going to be this is always going to be a little bit more controlled. I felt like when it comes to it, and have different classes. All 3 of these, like basically, we talk about the Spurs, Warriors, and Lakers. Mavericks, good try, but whatever. But when it comes down to it, they kind of like basically you can say the 2000s belong to the Lakers. You can say 2010s belong to the Warriors and stuff like that. You can't say the Spurs the Spurs were available in all 3 of those eras. So it's kind of like you have to look at different things for it.
Hey, so that's why I made the dominance thing. Like, did the Spurs own an era?
Mm-hmm. But the Spurs really don't. So that's one thing to also consider.
Come on,
Nick. Really think about it. The Spurs the best thing about the Spurs
20 years in of itself is a conversation.
It's a conversation. Yeah, that's true. But it's like I have to agree with Austin on this. It's like, really, can you call that they won? They made them really good. They won championships in other people's eras, but they didn't own one themselves. Like, I think that I really.
So what are you considering an era if 3 and 5 is not an era? That's a 5-year stretch.
I'm just saying. Well, you can say that, but then right now, that's right.
Nobody won back to back within those 5 years.
That's true. But also, right at the end of it, the Lakers had just won 3 straight. Then right after it, the Lakers won 2 straight.
So, when the other contender in that era won 5 to more than you, I think they own the era. That's my thing.
I mean, look, the team, when it comes down to it, the team of the 2000s is not the Spurs, it's the Lakers. The Lakers won 5 championships in that era. The Spurs won 3. When you talk about it, that's really what it comes down to.
You're talking about a 10-year span. You're talking about the 10-year span.
I'm talking, yeah. And like the Spurs did a great job of winning 5 within that 10-year span. But so did the Lakers. The Lakers won the other 5. I mean, actually, no. 11-year span because what? No, I'm sorry. The Spurs won 3 in the 5-year span, but the other 5 years of that 10-year span, like they just outside of that 5-year span, the Lakers won the other 5 outside of it, and then you have the Pistons and the Heat that won their 2 inside that. Then you also have the Celtics, of course, too. Basically, 11-year span. So it's just for me, it's hard for me to call that the Spurs era. I think that was impressive what they did. I really do. But at the same time, it's kind of like it's hard to give that to them. For me,
I'm going with the Lakers.
Heard.
What the Lakers have done is
go ahead, argue that point.
It is more impressive. The 3-peat and back-to-back against a super team, no less. After losing to it in the first time, like beating generational talent in every one of their runs. I have to give it to the Lakers. No, you know what? I can't because that post Kobe era, those 6 years of not, man. Nah, I gotta go with Spurs.
Just nasty.
Spurs?
Yeah, I gotta go with Spurs because it was really ugly for the Lakers.
I'll say the Lakers had the lowest. The Lakers had the lowest low. I feel like of all these teams.
Yeah, so, it was bad. It was bad, and it didn't.
So you going with the Spurs on this one? You're saying?
Yeah,
because of the consistency.
Yeah, because it was really bad, man.
Nick,
it's lottery picks for 6 straight years. You still didn't get yourself out of it. It's like you had to get stuff from free agency to get out of it. That doesn't look good.
Turn on that. All right, Nick, go ahead, make your point.
All right, so I'm making this pick based on this. The notes you gave me, discussion points, consistency of organization, draft success, free agency success, and their retention success. And overall success will be the deciding factors. Retention, they kept Mano, the fucking Frenchman, and they managed to keep the fundamental all together for what was it? Damn near 20 years? Yeah, 18 years.
15 years.
Whatever. Let's say 15 years. They kept that all together. So the retention is there. If you want to talk about drafts, potentially you drafted a generational talent in Kawhi, barring injuries. So you have drafts. And then you have just the longevity of the success of their overall 15 years, if you only want to do the 15-year stretch thing. So I don't see how it's not the Spurs with the consistency of being the best organization. And this pains me to say this, because I do not like the Spurs of any facet. But when you look at the facts based on the arguments that were presented or based on the criteria that we're supposed to be fitting in, this San Antonio fits in that window. And I don't know how you would argue against that, because the Lakers really haven't drafted much of any of their team. They get it all out of free agency. They didn't keep anybody except for Kobe, which is set for them to be able to reload and do something. But that's not the criteria we're talking about here. If you want to go based on the criteria of the questions that were asked, the Spurs meet that.
Heard on that. All right, Ajax, what's your
Go the
opinion?
Go the
Go
Spurs.
to Spurs?
Go the
Heard.
Spurs. Go the Spurs. Like you can't, y'all look, the whole making the playoffs 22 straight years. Look, it speaks for itself, man. Every other team there that we're discussing here, they had like these bad lows. I know Spurs had some lows, but they were still successful lows. They were still like they had some shame,
Mm-hmm.
They had some shame. So the Warriors, don't get me started on the Warriors. These last 20 years, like Steph really saved them niggas. So it's like they were awful organization before Steph, Clay, and Draymond came along. So, and even when Steph was was there, that 2020 year when he broke his hand, and then this past year, pathetic. You know what I'm saying? And like, and we talked about how like at every avenue to sustain the run, they failed. The Spurs, for that 20 years, they made the right free agent moves. They made the right draft picks to sustain. I don't think the Warriors, the Lakers, not even gonna mention the Mavericks. They weren't able to do that, but the Spurs were. So I gotta give it to the Spurs. Got to.
All right, I gotta agree with y'all on that one. I mean, also the numbers back it up. Like, let's just kind of do a deep dive here into consistency the Spurs have displayed since 2000. Best win percentage in the NBA at 634. They have excuse me, y'all. Undo. Sorry, y'all.
You good?
They have the most wins at 1,278 since the 2000 season. So, I mean, I'm not trying to disparage the Spurs by saying they don't own an era. I think it's more impressive that they've been able to stay relevant in each era. Basically.
100%.
So they went like when you look at some of the, if you want to give a team an eras and stuff like that, the Spurs were able to win a championship in almost all of those, in my opinion. So like except for maybe the Warriors era that just ended. So I mean they won a championship during the Big Three, then won a championship right after it, then won a championship right before Warriors started it. So they're able to win a championship right after the Lakers three-peat ended, then able to do it right before the Lakers repeat as well. I think the consistency that you preach for when you look at this, when that's what this roundtable has been about, and I think that's what also one thing that's more telling when you listen to Pat Riley, what he wanted, what he envisioned for the Heat, the Spurs were the blueprint. He wanted to be the Spurs. That's what made those two championship finals so compelling because this is what Miami wanted to be. Miami wanted what the Spurs had, that consistency. It's like it's all great to have those 4 years and add those memories to it, but Pat Riley, what he wanted 20 years of sustained excellence of being in the conversation of being a championship contender. So that's tough to do. Like, yeah, they have the thing is for the rest of these teams, their lows are lottery pick lows. The Spurs' biggest failures were beating teams that had 60 wins and didn't make it to the conference finals. That's a big difference between picking first in the draft, but being the only team in history not to make a conference final because it had 60 wins. Because that's an era of excellence, basically. It's an era of excellence. So for me, I have to give it to y'all. And on the Spurs on that, so the Spurs will get the 5 points and they get the win. As far as I'm concerned, I think maybe the biggest argument is for second place in that era. I don't know if you give it to the Warriors or the Lakers. The Lakers did have more championships this era, so I'd have to kind of give it to the Lakers on that one. And they have a bit more wins than the Warriors do for this 23 years, and I have to give the Warriors the 3 points on that. So do we agree on that?
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think that's fair. All right, so final. Spurs get 20 points and the win. Lakers get second place with 19 points, and the Warriors get third place with 18 points, and the Mavericks get a pat on the back from us because we don't really care. So on that one. So, gentlemen, again, one of the great conversations that we have. Thank y'all so much for coming in and doing this with us. This was a little bit considerably shorter, but we didn't have as many people as well. So we will be coming back. The next conversation we hope to have a GOAT debate, greatest of all time debate, and not just in the NBA. My idea, I wanted to have it for the NFL. I also wanted to have it. Excuse me.
You want to have multiple GOAT debates?
I do. I do want to have multiple GOAT debates, but we will talk about that a little bit later. See how we can do that logistically with that one. But for now, thank y'all so much for tuning in. For my regular co-host Jay,
Yo,
From
go
coming in
Panthers.
on for our most regular co-host, Ajax,
Yep.
and for our most frequent collaborator, Gym Class, my dog Nick.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Thank y'all so much for joining us. This will be on YouTube soon. And once again, like we said, congratulations to the Panthers coming through. We will be seeing y'all soon. All right. Love y'all. Y'all have a good one. Peace.